5 books and counting. The Tales from the Omni Vault continues to expand as a universe. Go ahead and check the links down in the description to get your copies today. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am the Omni Viewer, and I'm pretty sure at this point I've got all of the Godzilla Kong the New Empire figures from Playmates, at least as far as Wave 1 is concerned. And I haven't really been talking about them that much, just because I've been collecting them for my own pleasure, basically. But I did want to bring special attention to the Battle Roar figures, which are my latest acquisitions. Before I get to them, though, I would like to just briefly remind everybody about where we started with the Battle Roar figures. Now, with Godzilla vs. Kong, you gotta realize that figures were flying off the shelves with that movie, except when it came to the Battle Roars. And that's because these figures are awful. They are quite possibly the worst things that Playmates produced regarding Godzilla. Well, maybe not that because they blew it with Shin Godzilla twice, but in terms of the monsterverse line, these things are just not good. You can see with Kong here, first of all, the head doesn't look even remotely accurate. The articulation is really limited, both by the fact that he's in a very specific pose and the fact that his own body just gets in the way of things. Godzilla looks slightly better in terms of posing, but I mean, first of all, the spines look unfinished. Every other figure got his dorsal fins right except for this one. He's got the huge open screw holes running down his front, which I guess is technically better than having them all on one side, but still, they're kind of an eyesore. And the pose in particular is just begging for him to be angled forward like he's lunging, but you can't move his legs that way, so you're basically stuck with him in this pose. And Mechagodzilla only managed to skirt by as passable because technically he's a shrunken down version of the 10-inch figure. And that's just about the only thing that allows him to skirt by. The roaring function for each of these figures works just fine, but in terms of being actual, like, quality collectibles, they were not very good. I mean, they had all kinds of problems with them, like I just said. So, I did say that I thought Playmates had been improving things with their more recent figures. Does that also count for Battle Roar? Well, if we look at Kong, once again, as with the 6-inch figures, detail is much better. And also, we can say his face is more accurate. Maybe it's still not quite a direct match for what we see in the movies, but I mean, it's more like the Kong in the movies than this canine mug on the first attempt. He's still technically in a similar pose, although it is a completely new sculpt, and it actually allows for a wider range of movement. You're ultimately still going to be stuck with only so many different poses you can do, and you can't really move his legs around that much without compromising the balance. But overall, he was definitely improved. Now, they still have the huge square button on the back to activate the sound and the open screw holes on the back, although you're mostly going to be seeing him from the front if you're displaying him anyway. So, overall, Kong is definitely an improvement over what came before. With Scar King, well, he's technically not comparable to Mechagodzilla in any particular way, because he's a completely different monster. But again, we can see he looks accurate. He's in a pose that's kind of meant to mirror Kong's pose in a way. And you would think it would be limiting. In some ways it is. He can't really move his right arm that much. No, this is his left arm. Sorry, right to you guys. But you can't really move this in many ways that make much sense. This arm's a little bit better. But overall, it still looks accurate. And one thing that's worth noting is that the whiplash is not detachable this time around. You may also notice it covers the battery pack here. So that might be an inconvenience Fortunately, they added the option to have it be detachable here so you can move it aside when you need to replace the battery. So that's a good thing at least. So Scar King, again, looks accurate, but not necessarily better than what they did with Mechagodzilla, which was to just give him the neutral pose. Then again, I mean, he looks okay when posed alongside Kong. Godzilla, however, is the biggest improvement. First of all, I mean, this is the Godzilla Evolved, obviously. First of all, the spines, they actually look finished. They're not quite as accurate, like they're still a little more rounded than on, say, the 6-inch figures. I don't know if you can really tell, but they are much closer to being finished looking spines than on this thing. I'm sure we can all agree on that. We have also filled in screw holes on the front. You see that? Again, unlike on this thing, where you can see the screw holes quite openly, here they actually made some textured plugs to put in and not break up the mold. You still have the exposed screw for the battery pack in an unfortunate location. That's kind of necessary for it to be there, so I'm not going to deduct points for that. But that means this Godzilla looks good from every possible angle. And here's the really big improvement. Remember how I said the original Battle Roar figure was just begging to be posed in a lunging position? Check it out. It might take a little bit of finagling, but you actually can, if you get it just right. This might not be the best way for me to do. There, I've proven it. You actually can position Godzilla like he's lunging forward at this one. I mean, that's one of the things I really wanted this one to be able to do, and it can't. You can with this one. It's like they listened. I think Playmates actually did listen to the critiques of those original figures. So what we got here were 3 basically improved figures. I mean, you can't really improve on something that's brand new. You could certainly improve on this particular version if you wanted to. I still won't say they're perfect. They're not my favorite of the line, certainly. But of the Battle Roar figures that Playmates has put forward thus far, undeniably, these 3 are the best. And by sheer coincidence, they also scale pretty well with the DX Earthgaron figure from Ultraman Blazar. I mean, that just, I think, makes for an interesting display right there. But anyway, like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of the Battle Roar figures specifically, but if you're gonna get them, these 3 are the ones to get. Forget the originals, with Mechagodzilla being the possible exception. Otherwise, these ones, I'm glad to hear that they actually listened to the feedback and figured out a way to make them work properly. Just wanted to say, glad that there's an improvement. Until such time as we meet again, this is the Omni Viewer signing off. Thank you all for watching. Now be sure to head down to the description to check us out on other platforms, as well as find links to the 5 current books in the Tales from the Omni Vault universe. Again, thank you all, and we'll see you next time.